Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Liberating Webinars, a series from Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network to talk about important issues related to disability justice, racial issues, and many other topics important to our community. My name is Marenike Giwa Onaiwu, and if you are looking at the screen, you see a fan pic of Garnet from Steven Universe. That's me, at least that's me today. Hi, my pronouns are she, they. And I am here with my colleague, Lee, and with Jules, who is more frequently known as Autistic Typing. And we're gonna have a really great conversation today. So I'm gonna let Lee introduce themselves and then Jules, and we'll get started kind of letting you all know who exactly Autistic Typing is.
I'm Lee, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network. And we're here today with Jules. So thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm Jules. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. I apologize, I don't have them on the screen, but I can add them. I'm a late diagnosed Ojibwe autistic mom of 3 autistic children. I am an advocate, activist, and writer, and I write at Autistic Typing.
Awesome. So in addition to Jules and Lee, you will notice that we have our wonderful ASL interpreter here with us, as well as a captioner and another person from our team whose cameras are off. So before we get into the actual kind of our dialogue, because we're all autistic and we all hate all that getting to know you awkwardness, so we might as well make it a little fun. So we're gonna kind of do this. So I guess if all of us could share maybe our favorite movie or show and why, maybe that'll kind of let somebody know a little bit about who we are. And I could go first, or I could let one of you all go first. That order doesn't really matter.
You should go first.
Why did I know that was gonna happen? Okay, so I'd say my favorite shows are, right now I'm watching a lot of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super with the kids, but I think my all-time favorite show is probably Steven Universe. I love it. Just love everything about it, the themes and so forth. But if I have to pick like a quote unquote adult show, I would have to think about that, but it possibly could be Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. I don't know if I have a favorite show right now. I've been watching a lot of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and MODOK. I think probably my favorite grown-up show, Star Trek, classic Star Trek.
My favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. It always has been. I'm not a big TV watcher. I'm someone who has stuff on in the background. So I don't know if I have any favorite shows. Maybe Grey's Anatomy. I watch a lot of that. But I don't know what's going on. I just watch it.
Nobody ever knows what's going on with Grey's Anatomy. Even if you watch it every week. Cool. Yeah. So we've got some questions for you, Jules. And so the first one I'll ask, and so Jules, Lee and I will be taking turns with different questions. And so as you mentioned, you're an activist, you are a parent, you do a lot of writing. And so for the people who know your work, you've been using Autistic Typing for some time, and you've been blogging and sharing things on social media. Could you share with us, what is it that made you want to start blogging? What inspired you?
I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been writing since probably middle school, but I haven't really shared it publicly. And I wasn't really sure anybody would want to read what I had to write. So when I was learning about autism and parenting, I really wanted to share that with other people. I'm someone who wants to share everything that I learn with anyone who wants to learn. along with me. A few years ago, I attended a state autism conference, and Jennifer Cook O'Toole, she wrote the book Autism in Heels and a couple of other books as well. She was the keynote speaker, and after her keynote, I had the opportunity to speak with her for a few minutes. And when we spoke, she encouraged me to just write, and that if I start writing, people will read it. But the thing that actually made me finally start writing publicly was a comment I made on the Not an Autism Mom Facebook page. And Megan, she runs that blog and that page, she told me to start my own page if I didn't like what she had to say. So I did, but I didn't tell her that right away until recently.
So your blog, Autistic Typing, is just one example of the activism that you do. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the work that you do?
Yes, I do a lot, and it's hard to, just list it all off. So I just wrapped up a LEND fellowship, and LEND is Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental Disabilities, and it's a fellowship that I had through the University of Minnesota, and I'm honored to have been chosen as this year's trainee for the AUCD Training Directors Council. And the AUCD is the Association of University Centers on Disability. So that's a project that I'm working on right now. Through LEND, I worked on some intersectionality training for a website called selfadvocacyonline.org. And then I also recorded some podcasts that discuss disability in Indian country. I also work as a parent advocate for Multicultural Autism Action Network, specifically supporting American Indian families in Minnesota. One of the projects that I worked with, MAN, it's the acronym, is posted on my Autistic Typing Facebook page. And it was just like a little cartoon character of me talking about parenting autistic children. I also serve as a board member for several organizations, including the Minnesota Ombudsman for American Indian Families, the ARC Minnesota, and Minnesota Disability Support Alternatives. I'm also the elected chair for the Minnesota Autism Council. It's a Senate work group. And so we do some policy work and come to a consensus amongst professionals and parents and autistic advocates for policy throughout the state. Doing policy work is really delicate work, and it definitely does not come naturally to me at all. I work with some really incredible people, and I've learned a lot. And I'm also doing what I can to help others learn how to engage in policy advocacy. I am also starting, we've started a local nonprofit organization called the Minnesota Autistic Alliance. We're starting that with some amazing and badass neurodivergent activists who want to make a difference locally. We started as a group on Facebook. We've grown to about 1,500 people. And one of our first projects will be a program to support disabled people to develop advocacy skills. And I am writing a book with Megan from Not an Autism Mom. So I have a lot of projects that I'm working on right now.
So we're all busy people, but like just listening to your list, I'm like, dang. Like it's a lot, it's really amazing stuff. And so I definitely encourage people to look into, if they don't know anything about, like you mentioned, the AUCD or LEND, to try to find more information about these programs and check them out, because there's a lot of really important things that can be done, for our community, and, teaching new leaders, graduate students and early career professionals and stuff like that. So you do a lot, and it's important. And you also raise your kids and live life. I want to say how, but really tell us why. Like what is the driving force?
Yeah. Building community drives me. Neurodivergent people often grow up feeling rejected or like we don't belong in our own communities, and we deserve to feel like we belong. I want all of the young autistics, like my own kids, to grow up in a world that treats them better than the world that I grew up in. And I want life to be easier for all autistic people. And if I can be a small part of that change, I'm happy to do the work. Over the past couple of years, I've been compartmentalizing my work because I've felt a little limited in my ability to speak my mind in real life. And blogging let me share thoughts in a way that was authentic and freeing. I like having a lot of projects going on because I have a hard time focusing on one thing for a long time. So when I need a break from one thing, I can jump to another project and then come back when I'm ready.
I like what you said about not wanting your kids to grow up, like we did. That's like a big reason why I got into advocacy too. Probably the biggest reason. So, yeah. So when you think about all your experiences and everything you've learned, what is something you would like to share with your younger self?
Something I would like to share with my younger self is that I was doing the best that I could. And I have always been very hard on myself and not very forgiving. And I think one of the most freeing things of my diagnosis was understanding the context that I grew up in and understanding why things were hard. And that has been such a gift to be able to kind of reflect back on my life and know that I was doing the best that I could, and I wasn't supported the way that I needed to be supported. And, and that's not anyone's fault because of, my age and the times that I grew up in. I was born in the 80s. Like, a lot of autistic people were just completely overlooked. So that's what I would like my younger self to know.
And so thinking about yourself as a senior, as an elder, Jules with some grandkids or great grandkids jumping around, asking for candy, whatever, and stuff like that. When you think about that, what do you hope that older Jules would be able to tell you now on the journey that you are on and the things that you've learned?
That one is so much harder. I hope that elder Jules does not have big regrets. So I would hope that I would tell myself that, I found a good balance of my children's needs and my own needs and the needs of the community as a whole. And that's really important to me, especially as an Ojibwe woman. A really important cultural belief is living a life in balance. And I hope that I'm doing that well.
Okay, so we definitely want to talk more about your work, but was wondering if you would share some additional information about your book that you're writing with Megan from Not an Autism Mom.
Yes. I'm really excited about this. actually. So I kind of hinted earlier that we didn't always have a great relationship, and Megan is an holistic mom of autistic children, and she is also a writer. And when we first met, she was new to her children's diagnosis, and I was relatively new to my own diagnosis, and we had a few minor conflicts. And I didn't always have the kindest, I didn't have the nicest things to say, but they were productive and they were kind. And over the years, we have become friends, and we've learned a lot from each other. And this book is that we're writing together is, our goal is to help non-autistic parents learn from and find the autistic adult community. And it's not meant to be a let's hold hands and be friends book. It's meant to help people engage in productive conflict, because the conflicts that exist right now are very destructive sometimes. And it isn't anyone's intention to, it's not the intention to make people feel like they need to be tone policed or being kind when they're dealing with oppression or ableism, but to maybe help people develop new ideas and skills to be more productive in reaching people who are, they need to be reached. I don't know if I'm explaining this as well as I could, but it's a really exciting project.
I think that
Really funny. Oh, sorry, Lee, go ahead.
I just think that sounds like a really amazing book, and I think it's something that the community definitely needs. So I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it is exciting. I think it's funny when I think about, basically, because like that feels like something that so many of us would do. You know, you're posting, like someone is posting something. This is an holistic parent who, you know, is well-intentioned, but you're reading stuff and you're cringing. You're like, dude, oh my goodness. Like, and so finally for the person to be like, look, you keep commenting all over my page, create your own blog. And you're kind of like, fine, I will, you know, like, but then it grew from there and kind of became, because you already, you know, were a writer, it was already something that was in you. It just kind of, you know, grew to be so much more than that. And it's just kind of amazing to, you know, about how initially that was a, you know, a contentious relationship. And then you all came to respect and learn from each other to the point of partnering, you know, on a project like this and for the gain of the community. And it's super funny because it makes me think about Lydia XZ Brown, that an autistic activist that a lot of people know. Lydia and I met kind of in a contentious way too, with some stuff that Lydia had posted online on their blog that I was a little displeased by. Well, my kids found some stuff online, they showed it to me, and it started this kind of back and forth, kind of like argument in the comments type of thing. But eventually, like, you know, it grew. So it is just really cool, because I think a lot of people think that the absence of any conflict or strife is, you know, that's what brings us forward. And that's not the way things work. Anything that's important is going to be a labor of love. It's going to take effort. It's going to, you know, take time. It's going to, you know, take energy. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you. I'm excited. I want to learn more about this conflict that you had with Lydia.
I'll tell you off camera. But
yeah, it's funny. I've had a lot of, maybe not a lot, but I've had several relationships that ended up being like really wonderful relationships that started off, you know, with some tough circumstances. And I actually have found that that can lead to like really strong relationships. So
I think it does too. It's like, it's, you know, things break down to build back up, you know, so it's pretty cool, you know, and it's real life, And so, which kind of actually is a perfect segue into the next question. So, you do a lot of work with a lot of different communities, and I just want you shared some things already about, locally, the work that you do, as well as your national and state work, and some things about your heritage. And I just wanted you to kind of think back, or if you even think now, where do you see like the greatest unmet need? Like opportunities, areas that really, really need resources, need, attention, need focus. Could you share those with us?
Yeah, I would say, and this is a very, very broad answer, but I would say accessibility for people with neurodevelopmental disabilities, including autism, because it doesn't really exist. It's not a norm to have accessibility for neurodivergent people. So something that's happening a lot, especially amongst my friends, and it happened to me a while ago. Our children are also autistic, and they have IEPs, so that's an individualized education plan through public schools. And parents who have disabilities, at least in my state, have no way of requesting reasonable accommodations for their own disabilities during the IEP process. And that's a problem, but then it's across contexts as well. So if a person with a neurodevelopmental disability is applying for something like a waiver, a Medicaid waiver, which is disability funding and services, there's not a way to request a reasonable accommodation when you're applying for disability services. And it seems pretty ironic. But then if you're looking for housing and you need a housing subsidy, because a lot of people in our community face economic inequality or inequity and housing instability, those services are needed, but if you apply, you can't request reasonable accommodations. So, it's really broad, but that's one really significant unmet need. But yeah, there's so much.
I agree with you on that. I just wanted to share a story that when my child was younger, when we were going to apply for the Medicaid waiver, the reason I didn't is I could not get accommodations, so we just did without like any help. So yeah, that's definitely an unmet need that should be addressed. So also, the next question I want to ask is, when we met last month, you shared how you came up with the name Autistic Typing, and we were wondering if you would like to share that now with everyone.
Yeah, so we talked about how I'm a writer, but typing is also like my favorite STEM. So when and it happens randomly, I guess, but I get a word or a phrase like kind of stuck in my head on repeat. It's almost like an internal echolalia. But then I'll type it out on my fingers like over and over and over again. And my favorite words are symmetrical. So like, I can't think of one right now, but a word that has like the same fingers used on each side. So that's my favorite STEM. And it's also a cheeky response to the name Autism Speaks, because autism itself doesn't speak, because autism isn't a person. So I'm an autistic person and I'm typing.
I like that. That's cool. So we've been enjoying talking to you, Jules, but part of Liberating Webinars is we're trying to basically, liberate ourselves as disabled people from the tyranny of how webinars are done, that they have to be like super formal, super boring, super long. that you don't have accommodations when they're needed, like ASL and captioning. Like you must have your camera on, even if you look a hot mess like I do right now, which is why mine is off. And that it has to go 45 minutes an hour, and then you take the questions and all that nonsense. So, you know, we want to preserve spoons for all of us. So we have so many more things to talk about, being that we're going to have you here with us for a few additional webinars. But I want to just ask you, is there anything that you'd like to share with the community? You know, like, and I just really, Lee and I and everyone are just really, really proud of you. I think we all know how difficult it is to start kind of, you know, coming out per se, you know, with your identity and, you know, and face, and, you know, it's, you know, as opposed to just using your writing pseudonym. So it's very courageous, and, you know, we have your back. But if there's anything that you'd want to tell everyone, either the people who are already fans of your work and following you, or people who are just learning about you and want to know more, if you had like a little takeaway spiel, what would it be?
Takeaway spiel. It's such a broad question.
I know, right?
Gosh. Well, I guess like the one thing that I would like everyone to know, anybody who is new to autism especially, it's okay to just be and learn and take time to reacquaint yourself with the new autism lens. And if it's a parent, I've written about this before, about the autism moon period. So like when you're just getting to learn about autism, just take some time to relax. It's not an emergency. So, and
are you sure that they shouldn't hit hard, hit early? Is early intervention like right now?
No, don't do that. Just learn about stuff. So I'm someone who really likes to make informed choices. That doesn't mean I always make the right choices, but I try to research stuff. And I think that approach is really important when it comes to autism or disability in general. There's a lot of people who may not understand it, who think it's this terrible tragedy. It's not. And something that I like to say and remind people is that autism isn't good and autism isn't bad. Autism just is. It's just a part of who some people are, and that's okay.
I like that. That's very cool. Autism isn't good. Autism isn't bad. It just is. Thank you so much, Jules, for being with us. It was really cool to have you here. And we appreciate everyone who's here as well. And when you watch this, we're going to right now we're recording, but you're going to hopefully have us live to be able to answer any questions you have and, you know, have a little discussion and dialogue. But for now, we're going to sign off. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.